Please align your spine. Sit in a firm, comfortable posture where you can sit without moving as long as possible. And having said that, if you have any physical discomfort, and when it's physical, not like emotional irritation or something like this, or restlessness, that's a different thing. But if you have numbness or some aches, pains due to the sitting posture, then always move, change posture. And then when you align your body again, then again sit as long as possible without moving. Yesterday we were practicing, we always do basic practices. Sitting down, relaxing for a moment, becoming aware of the body, becoming aware of the basic state, and then generating bodhicitta. And we also continued with brief Guru Yoga session with one of the rainbow shamans, Shivaji, and then did mending practice. In this session, we'll do pretty much same session, pretty much, maybe with little changes. So when doing mending practice, I guess it depends how much rest you get, in what kind of karmic situation you are with your meridians, whether it is beneficial and useful to do mending practice today and tomorrow over following days. But at the same time, I think that when something is mended back, let's think of the session yesterday, when something gets mended back, it's good to leave little space before doing it again, like a space for integration, a space for the body and subtle body to get used to the mended, integrated condition. All right, so our basic nature. Cannot really be understood through concepts, although can be communicated through concepts, at least quite well. But having said that, concepts don't really, they point out to lived experience, actual recognition that is visceral, that we can feel. So it doesn't really matter what our opinion is. It doesn't really even matter if we are stuck having a rough day, something dark nightish. It doesn't really matter. We have this pure nature, completely pure. Purity like the purity of freshly fallen snow. That kind of purity. And always remains like that. Always. We have that purity in our both subtle bodies made of nadi channels and meridian channels, but also in physical tissues. If that wasn't the case, we couldn't glimpse it, we couldn't recognize it. But as you know, we have those glimpses and recognitions, short or longer. And that's a proof that that's how it is. And it is a proof that we can take the yogic, tantric, transformative process to cover all our bodies when we think of the examples from ancient history, all the way from, earliest Mahasiddhas of Hindu tradition, and even before that in rainbow shamans, and after that with many Hindu masters, Buddhist masters, Taoist immortals, Christian contemplatives. They have demonstrated that the process can be started with perfecting the subtle bodies, but then affecting and covering also the physical body. When we speak of glimpses and recognitions, periods of recognition of our basic purity, I'm talking about, recognition is a bit different than cessation. But we also have to discuss about cessations. Something ceasing momentarily. In our Dharma work, in our mission, we have extensively discussed both publicly and privately among the Sangha about the so-called bhumi events, shifts in, let's say, shifts in nadi body, in the nadi channels. And these bhumi events are cessations. The subtler of the subtle bodies, which can be divided into 13 bhumis, these 13 layers of or areas of vibration, and is made of nadi channels and the subtle energy coursing through them. When that system, when the self-based material momentarily disappears, it's called cessation. And cessations can last 1 second, like very quickly switching the lights off and on again, or the other way around, however you prefer. That's kind of the shortest, maybe 1 second long. But as we progress, as you know, like it has been explained in the books and on these retreats for years now, Cessations extend in duration. The farther we go with Bhumi events, meaning that when we have 13 major awakening experiences or Bhumi openings, followed by perfections, especially of the first 10, and then also the 11, 12, 13 Bhumis. These are all cessations. And the farther we are on that ladder of perfections, the longer cessations become. From second to 15 seconds to a minute to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 10, 12 hours. Then it jumps from there to about 1 day. From there it jumps to a few days, and then perhaps a week or 10 days. And what we have seen is that when nadi cessation lasts 2 weeks, it probably doesn't go back. So the 10 karmic bhumis are perfected. Emptiness is realized. But the exact same mechanism applies to meridians in terms of cessation. From brief cessations to a bit longer, to a bit longer, to a bit longer, until it goes through the meridian system, goes through the body. So in a nutshell, this is how the twofold enlightenment of wisdom and Lightbody comes about. But of course, as a requirement, we need to have know-how, we need to have theory, we need to have practices, we need to have all these necessary things to make that happen. If something is missing, then it doesn't work. But when everything is, when nothing is missing, then it makes the whole equation work. A few words about cessation of the meridian system. Put your hand up if you have had cessation of meridians. Yeah, all right. Maybe in the beginning, if the cessations are very brief, I remember my own cessations that I actually had for many years before I even started practicing. I had this like a thunderstrike type cessations, and I didn't know what they were. So there you go again. We need to have a theory, view to understand things. So I was missing the theory, and I had these shocks, and then coming back from that cessation, often very scared and kind of like concerned what was going on. And then it started making sense when I became a practitioner and learned about cessations. But what I was saying is that in the beginning, well, whether working with nadis or meridians, the cessation can be so short that it really doesn't doesn't really, you notice something that what was that, but you don't really yet understand what it was. And it isn't until it gets a little bit longer when you start realizing that, oh, glimpsing it, seeing the pure state for 10 seconds instead of 1 or 2 seconds, it's very different, right? Having lights on in a room that is normally dark, but having lights on for 1 second in comparison to 10 seconds, completely different experience of seeing the room lit. So I think that just like especially if you have practiced Amrita Mandala for some time, maybe a year or more, you already have experience of Bhumi events, Bhumi openings. People come from very different backgrounds. Some have very long previous practice history, some come with less practice history. So it depends how people's experiences are. But I think that anybody who does these practices that we do has some understanding, quite good understanding after years practice what happens. So there is first-hand experience of at least a little bit what cessations are. There are some people in our Sangha who have opened all their bhumis, meaning have had 13 major awakenings within something like 8 or 9 months of practice without any previous practice. So there are also those kind of people. But cessations are very important. Bhumi events, cessations of the meridian system, whichever path you're working on, or if you're working with both at the same time, are very important. What I'm saying is that recognizing our own basic nature in full, not only partially, is very important. And when I said it like that, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because during cessation, the basic definition is that on the Bhumi side of things, our dualistic, self-based mechanism or motor stops running. Completely stops running. Not only partially, having some of it in some form, perhaps in very subtle forms in the background, none of that. It's kind of like if you're used to breathing air that is not completely pure. Suddenly you inhale like mountain air, fresh air from the mountains. Oh, completely clear. And the same on the meridian side. It simply feels more complete, cessations with the meridians, because it is so physical, it is so visceral. And the reason for that is because meridians are the grossest subtle body immediately in contact with the physical tissues. That's why it feels like it's same experience like cessation with nadis, but it's more visceral, and that's why it kind of feels more intense and more profound. But it's the same basic state that we are recognizing, seeing, experiencing in full, 100%. During cessation. And during cessation we also understand, can directly see into the underlying principles of practices. We can see that our own nature is no different at all of any Mahasiddhas. We can see that all the deities, whether you practiced just 1, 2, or 3 deities or many of them, we have many in Amrita Mandala, you see that, oh, I am the deity. The deities are emanations of my own basic nature. And you also see, you don't have to think about it because you see it. Right? So you see that all life is connected. So you have direct reason why bodhicitta is exercised. And of course, with cessations, what is important is the not needing answers, not having questions, not having doubts. You know, samsaric beings, how our minds work is that we have doubts and we have thought processes, and of course we make use of that. And we need to make use of that also. Shakyamuni Buddha made this very, very clear. So we have logic, reason that we need to use in our path, in our search, in our practice. But in cessation you don't need any of that. all beings, all life connected and together, regardless about the seeming boundaries of distance and the seeming boundary between physical and non-physical realms, all life connected. In our own bodies, in our own systems, we have physical body and non-physical mind. Yet there is no problem between the two. There is connection, effortless, seamless. Our bodies, our meridians, are radiating pure energy. Pure energy means clear, clarity, means lots of vitality, endless resource in terms of vitality. Very soft, very soft. Stable, not wonky, not unstable. Effortlessly grounded. With these simple pointers, we are purposefully invoking the pure that is in each one of us to come out, to appear. In the midst of our karmic bodies. For the sake of healing traumas, for the sake of healing physical injuries, new or old, for the sake of releasing self-based confusions in any shape or form, subtle, or very, very subtle. So when we talk about our full potential, it means that there are no internal knots, unconscious or subconscious tightness, none of that kind of holding. And this means that our subtle bodies are completely open and active. Channels, centers inside the body, in the aura of the vertical pillar. What we do in our daily exercises, whether in Amrita Kriya Yoga or Rainbow Body Yoga, we emulate that. We momentarily try to activate the subtle body. And when we do that, little by little it becomes active. And this brings about profound, comprehensive transformation, doesn't it? Relax into it. Relax into it. Take the charge into your body and relax into it. If you have hard time relaxing, like sometimes people do, due to trust issues, you can ask yourself, does this energy feel comfortable? Does it feel safe? Can it be trusted? Is there something strange or dodgy with it? Ask yourself. And this can help to relax and surrender into it more or completely. Another way of expressing that is to offer ourselves. Poetically speaking, at the feet of the Buddha within, offer ourselves at the feet of the Guru, and so on. But there is dualism there. Me offering myself to Buddha or awareness or Guru. But look at that dualistic positioning. And here we come to an interesting points and interesting insights. From the perspective of wisdom, there is no owner. There is no entity. In other words, from the perspective of wisdom and emptiness, there is clarity, pure diamond-like clarity. And that clarity of a diamond is like an analogy for this selflessness, absence of entities. But at the same time, from a bit different perspective, this is who we are. It is not just some impersonal space or impersonal non-dimensional space that radiates energy. It is not like that. That is only half of the equation. It is ourselves. You and me, radiating purity, radiating pure light, pure energy, exchanging pure energy, exchanging in and out, going. And that's our identity. That's who we are. So please understand that I expressed two different perspectives. Perspective, the point of view from two different paths here. So there is the wisdom, emptiness side, and there is the healing or light body side. And I think that many people who have understanding of non-dualism or Buddhist emptiness, they might have problem with accepting what I just said. But in my understanding, these two are not at all in contradiction. It is actually the contradiction that is the beauty of it all. The thing is that when we have emptiness insight, it liberates us from selfing, from self-based ideas and ideation in degrees. And when you get to the perfection of 10th Bhumi, it's just out of your system. It's out of your system. You no longer have self-delusion. You no longer have it. This is what classics of Buddha Dharma, Mahayana in particular, say. 10 bhumis, karmic bhumis, and when you're done with that, then you have the wisdom that comes spontaneously and naturally from this realization of selflessness or emptiness. I'm a bit sloppily using the term selflessness and emptiness interchangeably. I really shouldn't do that because selflessness, the term, comes from classical small vehicle, but for the sake of understanding, I'm using that emptiness has something to do with selflessness and the insight into that. So, my point is that if we go through the path of wisdom and clarity, then that confusion about self-based, you know, understanding and conceptualizing ourselves as entities, that's out of the system, released completely. But like I said, I don't think that's the full picture. And a really fascinating, fascinating clue about this are what rainbow body masters like Padmasambhava have said. Padmasambhava, I remember Yutok from Tibet has said also the same. Various masters. Some of those quotes you can find from the book Buddhas Among Us. But they have said that I have attained rainbow body. It's not interesting from the perspective of making claims. It's interesting that they say that, or say something similar. They openly say, I have realized and understood and embodied the kayas, the enlightened bodies. I have practiced and fully embody the Dharma, or the realization of Mahasiddhas. Along these lines they have spoken. Many have problem understanding that. They don't really want to hear the great Buddhist idols say that, because there is this misconception that if you say something like that, it's a selfish claim. So many people bypass those statements from Buddhist Mahasiddhas. But that's what they have said. The point I'm getting to is that it goes farther than emptiness realization. There is more to enlightenment than wisdom. And like I said, after 10th Bhumi, all this doubt and confusion and uncertainty about self, selflessness, me, other, dualism, non-dualism, it's gone. No confusion. What then from the perspective of the meridian system? This has been, it hasn't really been technically and theoretically that well explained, but it has been spoken in beautiful ways by yogis and swamis from Hindu tradition. And they speak of the nature of me or I in very beautiful ways. Some of these expressions are a bit problematic because they don't have necessarily wisdom or emptiness as basis. Most of the Hindu side of yoga is focused on purifying the body and meridians. So they have quite a lot of confusion about the nadi system and wisdom. But having said that, many Hindu swamis, both ancient and recent, have purified meridian system. Some even manage to purify both subtle bodies and attain light body. So from the perspective of psychology, which is really helpful in our work, from the perspective of trauma, we associate ourselves with emotional, psychological pain and psychological confusion, you could say. Our egos, ourselves, start growing in unhealthy and kind of distorted, skewed ways after we start getting traumatized, when trauma is planted into the system. So when you're 2 years old or 3 years old and you get scared of something, like properly scared, it plants a seed of fear and terror in your system, and after that it is no longer in its natural original condition, the meridians. After that the energy will flow there in a way different than it would in completely healthy system, right? Energy flows in unnatural ways, and it keeps, as long as trauma is accumulated, it keeps getting more and more skewed. And there are also, because we did mending yesterday, there are also the breaks, meridians actually getting broken. However, there is still purity in our meridian systems. No matter how traumatized, there is still original purity and the pure energy of it. And this is very personal, first-hand. And that very pure energy, from the perspective of psychology and healing, this is a pure psyche, pure me, pure I. Pure you. Because of the psychic damage, we associate our psychological concept of I or me with pain, fear, anxiety. Feeling off. But let's associate this concept of I or me with that purity. Let's return that concept back to where it should be. I'm talking about I-affirmation. So feel the purity in you. That purity that has always been there has gone unrecognized and is shadowed by traumas. So find that energy, find that original purity, and then verbally, internally, say the affirmation, I. Using that word or using the word me, if you prefer. Saying it in your own native language. You can say the word I or me every now and then. This is a category of practice called samyama. Samyama, where you have a word or phrases, in this case just I or me, referring to the subject, this basic fundamental psychological concept. And you say it internally once and kind of let it be. Let it do what it does. Saying it and letting go of it. Letting it echo, letting it brew for half a minute, 45 seconds, 1 minute, and then repeating it. Samyama with I affirmation. So this is not a mantra. You're not to repeat it all the time, just every now and then. Only the word I, only that one single word, referring to that basic psychological concept. That I explained. Some of you are understanding it, getting a hang of it. Some of you are kind of not sure. Please look at me doing this practice for a few minutes. Just look at me. you can return to your own practice for a little bit more. One thing that I forgot to mention about the affirmation is that when you say it with your whole body, with your physical body. As if the whole body says it. Now that we've used the affirmation for, well, a short session, but for some time anyway, just sit and feel. What are you feeling? There are lots of meditation exercises where the energy of kindness is generated, where the energy of love is generated, compassion is generated, equanimity is focused on. But isn't it that all these qualities are already with us just through doing the affirmation? Maybe if you did the exercise for the first time, maybe it's not that apparent, but it will become apparent. The point is that, as you know, as I said, there are all these different meditation exercises, for example, generating love, discovering the energy of love, which is a good exercise, but there is a level, like a foundation, deeper than love. Love is a concept relating to energy. There is a deeper concept with energetical quality, and that is I. Not I am, not I am that, I am not that, just the I. The first psychological concept that we learn when we are small children. And it is that concept and its energy that gets damaged through traumatic events. So we are simply returning back to it and the qualities, the energy that it already has. Without having to go through those love, compassion, equanimity, and so on, joyfulness. It all gets revealed and becomes apparent through this simple concept. So together with mending the broken human practice, which is a simple prayer, really, isn't it? Practiced with the support of bodhicitta or guru, bringing those broken pieces back together, fixing our plumbing. But then healing those traumatic pains, traumatic confusions. Well, we have many practices, tantric practices, all these things. But this I-affirmation is really foundational, something really basic. Like I said, maybe it's not apparent, or maybe it was, even if it was your first session, but you will get it in your second or third session. What am I trying to point out? This pure psyche, undamaged psyche, that is abound with energy, is full of light, figuratively speaking. It's rich, it's full, it's complete. That's the body of great perfection that we vow to attain in the fourth Bodhisattva vow. Body of great perfection. The body that you can see here behind me, depicted in Guru Rinpoche's tongue. Light body, rainbow body. Internally taking Bodhisattva vows, internally taking fivefold refuge, with our whole being, with all the love and kindness and purity in us, wishing all beings to get free, wishing all beings to discover their basic purity. And dedicating the merit of our practice to all beings. Palm to palm. All right, ladies and gents. Thank you for this session. I only have an hour and a half. It always goes so fast. So I kind of have to, I was speaking throughout this session, but I kind of have to, cover everything I need to cover. Looking forward to, feel free to experiment with the I-affirmation today, and looking forward to hear about your experiences tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Baba. See you tomorrow.
See ya.
Thank you.